Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Christ consciousness. Now, let's talk about radionic machines and the importance of upgrading them. Now, from the little thumbnail you'll see here and what is shown through this lecture is a general upgrade unit that Radionic Tech offers. Now, it's important to understand that there are a lot of machines out there. Most likely you have a machine. If you're interested in radionics, we have many different. We have a basic non-dialing machine, which is very easy to use and has been furtherly upgraded. But it doesn't have dials on it, and it does have the very, very important amplification and broadcasting technology that we offer. Now, if you have a common radionic machine, you desperately need to amplify it because the amplification you have in that machine really is worthless if it even has any. But you need to go through a very particular type of amplification process using these very unique energies that are known as subtle energy physics or radionic energies. This is why these machines fail so much and don't work too great and ever have, because they're very weak. So what you're basically doing is using a psychic crutch. By tuning the dials, what you are doing is focusing on a target and sending energy there to affect things. Now, this does work. There's a whole study of this that has went on for 30 years by the noted researcher Bengston, who has done hands-on psychic projection healing for 30 years, and he claims amazing success. Now, we also have a lot of people have been doing this for years, but you got to remember when you do this, you're getting into the psychic realm. Now, psychic energies, which is a crude way of talking about there, it's really the bioenergetic. It's a consciousness energy. It's not psychic. It is not produced by your mind or your brain alone. It's a much higher energy source that is a combination of cosmic type energies, you would call it, divine type. So this is what the projection really is. You are strictly the funnel for it. You accumulate the energy, you channel the energy, and then you send it to the target. So you serve as this kind of channel, this opening. That you draw it into, and it's not biologically based that way, and it's not coming from there. You're strictly the tool that directs the energy that is coming to you. So it's important to understand that these are very critical things that we have made major breakthroughs in understanding this in the last few years. It's really not new, but I don't think anybody has actually discussed it properly. And of course, that's what subtle energy physics is all about. And this will be offered in a course soon and in a little booklet as well. We're trying to make small, short booklets so that people can read them easily and reread them instead of reading massive books pretty much filled with information people don't care about. And who has the time to do it any longer? You know, reading large books is really disenables you because you get caught in the minutia of it and studying, well, here's 40 pages that gives you the guts of it. You know, kind of like people used to buy in college. What do they call those things? Little booklets that talked about the book so you didn't have to read it. Well, you know, that saves you a lot of time. And that's what we need to do now. We don't need a lot of verbiage. You don't need gobs of theories. You don't need gobs of information. And you don't really need too much details as a layman. Now, if you're going to research this great in depth and so many other things, well, you should become qualified in it. Get your certificate in subtle energy physics and everything that goes with that so you get these really minutia of it and you understand it. And that's quite a study. And you can expect to spend many years doing that and go through a lot of what I detest, but a lot of probing and testing so you understand what it is. Now, the average person or even a serious person doesn't need this. You need to understand the basics, and that's critical because understanding how it all works empowers the entire process. That's part of the whole new subtle energy physics understanding. So if you have any type of radionic machine, number one, you need to clear it out. Now, we have clearing templates that you need to obtain. This you can use to clear out everything. You can put your watches, your rings, anything else on there, crystals. If you want to clear anything out, you can even put water jugs on here. But the main thing to do is to clear out your radionic machine, particularly if you're using what has been very popular in the last few years, anything that has to do with orgone and its fraudulent energy that's been perpetrated on the public by a well-known Satanist. And people have picked up on this, putting in this ridiculous orgone, which does absolutely nothing. Now, again, I've talked about orgone in the past, and of course, even the discoverer of orgone, who used orgone accumulators, which you accumulate the energy from the direct atmosphere, which is very dangerous. It was okay in the 50s to a degree. Now it's highly dangerous because we're just a super toxic environment. But of course, Wilhelm Reich, who died in prison. Now, the bottom line is that he disobeyed the law, telling him to stop doing certain practices. We really don't know if any of his research is any good, whether this technology worked or not. It's very interesting, and I do think it deserves some sort of study. And we have to figure out how to filter and make it pure where it's worthless. And this is talked about in the Orgone Accumulator book, which I think by Mayo. I always forget this guy's name. But there's an entire chapter on how toxic orgone is. So we have to be very careful. And I think it's very interesting. And I think, but of course, orgone is named after orgasm. Wilhelm Reich was a sex fiend, basically, studying with Freud, and it was all about sex with him. Now, whether he actually had these boxes did anything, and you sit in them, we don't know. I'm in favor of researching everything. But, we also can't live in the delusion that the fact that this was some dream technology that cured everybody. He was harassed because of making claims which were unverified. And this is the problem with all alternative medical practitioners. So it puts you in a terrible position. I do believe that there should be a law to allow people to do this kind of research without making claims. As a matter of fact, they should tell everybody that this is 100% experimental and that this should be used and maybe even enforce that you have to go to a regular doctor as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think your doctor should also tell you that this is experimental. We're giving you medications to treat the symptoms. This does not cure you, and it doesn't. So I think there has to be a whole redoing. I have no use for either. Like everything in life, I really don't have any use for anybody or anything. Everybody has a little piece of a million-piece puzzle. Everybody has one little piece, and we need to get that piece and start assembling the puzzle. I don't find any traditional thinkings, whether they're traditional religions or the alternatives or the Tibetans or the American Indians or the Aztecs. I don't find much value in any of these things. And ultimately, when you look at all societies on this earth, they've been horrible failures that have produced very little. So we need to understand that, and regardless of what comes to us, if it even appears to be a panacea, well, it is a good in one area. Is it good for everything? Well, it's going to have to prove itself. So we have to understand that orgone is very experimental. Wilhelm Reich died in prison. Some people say he was killed. I'm not sure if that was the case. He was thrown in prison because he violated his parole that said you weren't supposed to sell these products. And again, there's a big mishmash there. I don't know if he was involved in it or somebody in his organization did it, but it certainly, again, like all these things, stinks like 10-day-old fish left out in the sun. So the whole idea is all this comes to it. But we just don't know. Ruth Drown was harassed and so forth, but went on after her court cases to continue practicing and to live to be, I believe, 73, which isn't too bad back then. But, people should live and have been living into their middle 80s. If you don't make it to your middle 80s, it means you have some sort of health problem that was fairly serious, or maybe it's your personal genetics that has programmed you. And there's other things that we have to understand as well. So in radionic machines, we've had this vast amount of people using this, which isn't orgone at all. Orgone was accumulated by a particular layering, and I've even misstated what this is as being steel wool, a steel, like you rub on your pots and pans, steel wool, to scrape off the junk. And there was supposed to be natural wool. Well, that's not really what it was. There was some other type of mineral type fabric, I believe, he was using that I read recently. But since this isn't something I've got into in researching, here again we get into areas that are bogus in terms of what's been told you. So this, of course, but there still was a very particular layering process to accumulate orgone, which was laid out by Rife and by others after him. What came after that was a special type of formula made by a renowned Satanist, Carl Weltz, who came up with Organite. Now, this is a complete bogus, and I even worked with him for many years, and he started his occult career with me and my organization. And that's a long, boring story. But the bottom line is that making a bunch of powders, which apparently was based on the gold powder that was actually used by or invented by or discovered by the ancient Egyptians. What is it? Monoatomic gold, where they make this gold into tiny, tiny particles, which you can then serve as a more consciousness. Now, this was part of it, mixed with other things. There's even fantasies that basically of having some sort of chip. This is all nonsense. There is no electronic process for any of this. So this powder that was put in there, and I believe there's even recipes for this, and I believe even the inventor of this gave a recipe for making orgone powder. It has nothing to do with electronics whatsoever. And so the whole idea is that powder, which in itself produced in the fashion that it is by a person who is very negative, believing in demonic gods and practicing things, and even stated in his particular papers on the group that he had that they did very perverse sexual practices. This is the reason why I threw him out of my organization. So, and I have all these papers for those people out there that think I've got all the screenshots of him, including the actual number that he says call him in his Georgia home. So the whole idea, if you have these kind of machines, you're dealing with the devil and the problems. Now, there's a whole bunch of other people in the radionic industry that are Satanists as well, making machines. People, so you have to be very careful. In general, if you find anybody making these machines, most likely they are not built too well. And this is a real problem. They don't understand the subtle energy physics of things. So, but they have a varied degrees of their own personal evil toxicities in them. So regardless of who you buy it from out there, you're going to find their negativity is in there. And even if they're not negative, they're having their own belief systems implanted in it that make these machines work poorly. But in general, the ones you see out there that are in common use are a problem. But any radionic machine you have is holding energies and you're not clearing them out properly. So to do that, you need to get, first of all, one of our clearing plates, and these are good forever, and they're very simple. You just place whatever you want on top of them, and we have our advanced technologically and exclusive technology of our energy cells, which are tachyon, neutrinos, gravitons. This sucks in these energies, which do not accumulate negative energies because they are faster than the speed of light, so or they are extremely fast. Of course, tachyons are, so they don't accumulate any toxicities from the atmosphere. And of course, these pick up a tiny bit of energy. If we were able to pick up neutrinos and tachyon energies in a strong fashion, we'd probably blow the Earth up. So we have to be careful there. So nobody's claiming that we're harnessing it. First of all, they're antennas. They draw them in. They condense them in a particular area, and then they just flow through. They flow through that item, clearing out negativity and going on into infamy. They're not stopped. They don't, so you got to understand how these work as well. When you accumulate thing, you are then sticking it in one place that stays there. That's the problem with doing orgone. So it is not flowing through. It's accumulating there with all the other stuff. So if you have any machine from anybody, and even if you have our machines, it's always good to even clear them out. You have anything that we have built-in clearing things. That's why we give you boxes and other things you place your energy cells in. And of course, our radionic machines clear themselves out. But hey, the more clearing you have, the better. And these things not only clear, they energize. So you're getting all this energy in there, which basically just feels great. And if you're wearing watches and rings and regular jewelry, well, they all accumulate garbage. Well, not only clear them out, make them feel good. People, when they use these clears products, feel a lot better. So the whole idea is you need to get an amplifier, and they're very easy to use. You get a energy plate, which you either place under your machine. This is the easiest way to do it. Or you place it on your out plate to actually where the energy flows out of your plate will then pick up the energy. And of course, you could also use the in play, but you pick up the energy coming out of your radionic machine. It goes into the amplifier and then goes into our transmitter. Now let's remember we use very special amplifiers. First of all, they are resonant amplifiers. They use resonant energy, resonating energies. That's why they're tube amps, and tube amps amplifiers are miracle tools. We've talked about that before, and I don't want to make this too long. So if you don't know what that is, check into some of my other lectures. Also, we have restructured these tools at the subatomic level. Everything in there has been restructured. So the electronic components and everything else, through our unique exclusive process, we have been able to restructure how these things work so that they can pick up these energies better, keep them pure, and of course make them able to be amplified properly and broadcast properly. Now, you cannot take psychic energies, and of course it's not psychic energies purely, but you can't take them and just amplify them to any great degree. It does help when you use tube amps, but you're still not getting the kind of amplification that you need. You need restructured electronic components that can pick up these energies. We put many things. We do this in the core of the actual units themselves, and of course then we have a lot of things we attach to the outside of the cases of these. And all of our units are the top quality units. They come in metal cases. They're very well made professionally, and we test them to make sure they all work, and they work for many years. So we attach our special energy cells, and we attach several different items that make sure. We also have anti-radiation, so if there's any kind of radiation coming at you, it dissipates it. This includes routers, cell phones, etc., because this all hurts the broadcast of energy. So we go in and take care of all this. We create positive energy fields there as well, and we use sacred geometry and everything else as well. So this is a very complicated, well-researched process that we do, put in what appears to be a simplistic package. But don't let that fool you. The guts of these things have been, at the subatomic level, have been changed in our unique research, and so is our transmitter. And of course, we have special rate cards that have special numbers and are empowered. So we give you the powerful rate that only a professional can get you, and we have placed these numbers into symbolic energy fields that again increase the rate energy. So the rates are not just the numbers which vibrate a certain energy to begin with, but those energies are then brought up to much higher rates, which much greater empowerments that flow through the units properly. So hopefully everybody kind of understands that. We're going to be having videos coming out on this soon, but upgrading your tools is critical. If you have a radionic machine of any type, you need to get a clearing plate. You need to get the upgrade system, which is priced fairly reasonably. And these are tools that'll last you for a lifetime, and you must have them. If you're using anybody's radionic system, you have to first make sure that there isn't any toxicity in them. The only way you can really affirm this is making sure you place one of our clearing plates underneath that machine and leave it there when you're using it. Simple as that. It's the only way you can. We don't know what people are putting in there, how they're putting in it. If they have crystals, well, they're full of junk crystals. You have to be able to clear them out. If there's some quasi, and people use that term orgone for everything, whatever that means, but any quasi-orgone made by anybody is a potentially hazardous material in your unit. Well, you have to clear that out using one of the plates. Now, once you've done that, you now have a pretty low-level, weak machine. So you need to have a strong amplifying unit, and that's, of course, with our tube amps and our tachyon, neutrino, graviton energy cells and sacred geometry and everything else that we do. We've changed these at the subatomic level. It's important to understand that. If you don't have that amplification, your machines are not going to work well. And they don't. Now, people get results with some machines in spite of themselves, but it's strictly a psychic tuner. And when you're only using psychic energies, you are going to get poor results in general. So all of these things that work on that are not working well. Now, anything that we do in life, we want to mechanize. We want to improve it. I mean, as the human race, and the reason why we're the dominant race is not because of our brains, it's because of our physical makeup. We have hands and feet what does that mean? It means that we can make tools. Certainly, any animal, including a small dog, is much more stronger than you are. So physicality is kind of a joke. Animal muscles are so more superior than humans, and why is that? Well, that's a good question we should ask to the boobs that designed us. Whether divine or extraterrestrial, take your choice. They didn't do such a very good job. So if you want to have big, strong muscles, you got to spend your entire life doing that and spending 4 hours a day in the gym. Animals, I've never seen an animal go to a gym and pump iron. I don't see the Gold's Gym t-shirts on my local bear. So the whole idea is that this and the power of these animals are just shocking. I remember being in bear country in the Katmai National Park in Alaska, where they had a huge amount of grizzly bears there, and they would go across streams that would knock you over, and you would have extreme difficulty. They would just clump, clump, clump. They were past that stream with nothing. The intensity is unbelievable. Why are they not superior? Well, they certainly are superior in every single way. They also can survive almost anywhere. They're not superior because they don't have hands to make things with. So, as human beings, we make tools. Tools make machines, so we always want it. So to somehow think that your psychic power is the best possible machine you can have, and that you can spend 24/7 channeling all your energy through some psychic mode that you are in, is absurd. So I would suggest then that you get rid of your roller skates, your skateboards, your cars, your airplanes. After all, you got feet, don't you? Walk. So the whole idea is that that's the kind of stupidity. So don't get fooled with that, but we're talking about very particular energies here. These are not traditional psychic energies. These have to be amplified and changed, and you have to put concentration into it. It's ridiculous not to use tools that can help you, especially if you want to manifest at a serious high level. So that's why upgrades are so important. And we have them all, and all you have to do is buy the upgrade. You can have it up and running onto your machine, I would say, within 5 to 10 minutes, and that's just because you got to you got to figure out how to connect it. It's instant. You plug it in, you're done. There's nothing to do there. There's no great tuning to do. While some of these tools have actual dials on it, well, generally you just have to turn them up all the way. If you're more of a skilled person and want to do some setting the dials to what works best for that particular rate you're putting into it, well, you certainly can do that as well. But that is not really required. That's for the professional that wants to fine-tune something. Generally, you turn the dials all up, you're ready to go. You place it place the plate on your machine, on your out plate, or underneath your box, and you're done. And it's as simple as that. The same thing with our rates. Your rates can be put right on the in plate, and you dial in the number, the 9-dial rate, into your machine, you're done. How long could that take? 2 minutes? So it's as simple as that. Now you've got that particular energy there. So it's as simple as that. And of course, you do the normal thing of whom you're sending it to. So the witness of the target always goes on your out plate anyway on your machine typically. So that's how the entire process works, and it's very, very simple, and you must have those upgrades. If you don't have those upgrades, you're really wasting your time trying to produce things. But we also make everything that we make as modular. You can use any of our tools with any radionic machine out there. We do have to be careful because there's a whole bunch of radionic machines that have been produced in the last 30 years that are using some quasi and dangerous orgone. And these things have been linked to all sorts of psychic, mental, and demonic possession problems. There's a long list of people using these kind of, quote, orgone type machines who have died and have had physical illnesses. We know they're directly connected to Satanists who have not been hiding this anywhere. So I don't particularly want their energies. So to make sure none of that, and when you make something like this, you leave your energetic implant into it. Imprint, I should say. So you've imprinted your philosophy in there. This is bad. But you can stop that. These imprinted energies can be taken out by using our clearing plate. So very important that you do that. And it's also important that you get something that really has some kick to it. Now, a lot of these tools, which were made in the 50s and 60s by Ruth Drown and even by Abrams and people coming after them, again, didn't have this kind of negativity in the atmosphere, so they worked a little better. But the bottom line is you always have to amplify everything. Is there anything in life that you really don't amplify if you think about it? And secondly, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take tools, make a machine so it is better instead of trying to climb over the Everest mountain of psychic empowerment that most people fail? So it just makes a lot of sense. It's a small investment for a lifetime of use. These products last forever. They're easy to hook up and they work fantastically. So it's about time you upgrade what you have. It's about time that you get these systems. Go down below and look at the actual link and you will find the actual upgrade system that you can get. These are in stock and ready to ship. So if there's no charging involved here, they're all ready to go. We've already done all the processes on them. So you can get the finest, most advanced technology available to you for a very small price and start manifesting at 10 times the rate that you did before, and possibly even save your life by not dealing with toxic, evil machines. That's really sad that I even have to state this and report it here, but it is a known fact. So anyone who has been foolish enough not to understand the problems with the orgone manufacturing, you have missed the boat. Maybe you don't know about that. It's amazing. For years I've been talking about this, and people just don't seem to get it. Plain and simple. They don't even want to believe it. And it amazes me when you tell people the truth, how they reject it. But of course, that's the reason why negative con artists seem to prosper in this world, because people want to unite themselves with the gum of it all, the scum that is out there. They seem to gravitate like that because, let's face it, most people are evil inside and they gravitate towards evil. But if you want good things to happen in life, you want to have safe machines, you want to make sure what you're projecting out there is done correctly, well, make sure you get a clearing plate at the very least. And if you really want to have a good machine, well, let's get away from that primitive psychic power that you've been working on and get something that is a legitimate amplifier. Now, people may say they have amplifiers and everything else. Yeah, it's a little chip they put in these machines that is worthless. These energies cannot be amplified by these solid state chips. They need to be in a particular form. So it's all there. The best, finest technology is there, really at a unbelievably low price, and you should grab it and grab it now. Until next time.